Welcome, this is your instructor, Julia Grab. I'm going to show you how to do the styles for your class landing page. We're going to go through them fairly quickly, so feel free to pause at any time. So we're going to start sort of the same way as we have our HTML, top to bottom, with the wrapper. So we're going to use the CSS Designer. I'm going to keep the source code tab open here so that I can see the styles in the design view as I go through. So we're using the source style-lp.css, and I'm adding selectors. Selectors select different parts of the HTML. You can see that wrapper came up right away because I've linked this style sheet to my index.html file, making it accessible to the CSS Designer. Here we're going to use a quick little shorthand for the margin. This is a very important shorthand. It sets the top values 0 pixels, throw pixels in here, and then the left and right of the margin to auto. So with that shorthand, I can set all 4 values of the margin. I do this on the wrapper so that I can center it as soon as I set that max width. So this is the maximum width this page can span to, so creating a bit of a flexible container in my wrapper. Remember the wrapper is that ID. I started with a hash symbol to denote ID. It has all of my structural HTML elements as well as my content. I'm going to add a selector for the body element. Remember the body is where all the content needs to be if it's going to display on a web browser. I'm going to increase the font size here after I remove the default margin. So every HTML element will have some default 8-pixel margin, and often we're removing that margin so we can get the content flush to the sides and the top of the screen, specifically in the body. I'm going to set a background color here. So clicking on this background tab, I can use the background color of that off-white eggshell given at the top of our style sheet. And then I'm going to set my font size. So font is under the text tab. The font size is going to be a little bit of an increase. I'm using EMs here, which is the width of the M in our chosen font. And let's set that font. So the font family, you can choose whichever font you like here that's easy to read. This is again going to be the overall font. I'm going to go with the Baskerville font, and then you can see it's got a bit of a family there, as in there's not just one font. If the Baskerville font is installed on the individual's computer, it's going to go to Palantino Linotype, then Palatino, then Century Schoolbook, then Times New Roman, then Serif. So all of those will be added to the page in that order. If you're not seeing these options here in the CSS Designer, check this box off. It shows a list of the styles that have been added, but when checked off, we can see all of the options for our styles. Let's move on to adding a group selector. So a group selector will add styles to 2 parts of our page at once. The header, comma, footer means that the header and the footer are going to get these styles. We're creating a bit of a block at the top and the bottom of the web page that are going to have some similarities. So I'm going to add the styles once for both of those sections. The padding, again, I'm going to use that shorthand to set a little bit of active space inside the container. I'm going to use the padding here, setting the shorthand for active space inside the container. So 60 pixels on the top and bottom, and 50 on the left and right. And you can see that shorthand set up appropriately there. The background color I'm going to have here is sort of a deep purple. The hexadecimal code is 23942. The text color is going to be that same off-white. So hash F E F C F B. And if you don't add the hexadecimal color, it won't work. Now we can see that contrast really nicely there. Finally, I'm going to text align everything in my header footer center. Next week, we're going to add an image, but we're also here going to add some styles for heading 1 and heading 2. We can play around with some of the fonts again, so adding whatever font family works for you. I'm going to go with one that I've used previously. You can find the fonts under Tools, Font Manager, Custom Font Stack, and you can go through and select them. What's unfortunate here in Dreamweaver is that you can't actually preview them. You kind of have to know what that looks like, what those fonts look like. So select one that you know already, or just play around with it and trial and error those fonts. So again, I'm doing both heading 1 and heading 2. You can see the fonts are applying to all of those headings that I've set on my page. Now I'm going to add some styles for our anchor link. So remember, A is the element for links, and I'm just going to change the text color here, give it a little bit more of like a royal blue color. And again, these are all listed. These colors should be listed in the top of your style sheet. The link color is a little bit hard to read in the header and footer, so I'm just going to give it a little bit of a different color. And to do that, I do a combo group selector. So this is adding a header anchor styles and a footer with the specific anchor styles. And basically, I'm just changing that color to be a little bit of a lighter blue. So 76B9AF is the color I've chosen. So you can see the contrast is quite a bit better there on the dark purple. So just a few more styles to add. We're going to add in styles for the unordered list. Specifically, we're just going to remove the bullet. The last option under text, list style type, we're setting that to none. That will remove the bullet. We'll still have the tab indentation created by the list items. We're going to set a few styles that are actually added in Dreamweaver to our main element. The main element is going to be our flex container. We're going to go over the flex box in quite a bit of detail later on in the semester. But for now, I just want to show you how simple it is to set it up. In the main, we're changing the display to the type flex. You'll notice this is not one of the built-in types, but it is valid. And then we're going to add a few here at the end. So if we click on that show set, we have the ability to add more just by typing. And if you just start typing justify content, you'll see that it will come up here. So this is not technically built in. So we're going to justify the content of these containers. So our sections will be these different containers for our content. And then we're going to use the flex wrap to wrap our text to make sure it folds nicely on it. The last thing we're going to add here is the footer links. Specifically, we're going to add some padding and get those set up really nice. I'm just going to undock my CSS Designer so I can scroll down and see those links as I create my style. So again, clicking off Show Set. The padding here, I'm going to use 0.5 EMs all around, so creating some active space between those links. Making sure that my content is actually in my footer. Will be important. All right, and then we've got that on. Next, we are going to add the display inline block. This is a really important property. When used in combination with padding, it creates a button effect. When my cursor goes close to this, I'll show you in live view. My cursor goes close to this. The padding is now included in the clickable part of the link. Text decoration, I'm going to remove those underlines, and then I'm going to put a border on them. So a solid border all around with the width in EMs. It's not letting me select that there, unfortunately, so I'll just type it in of 0.05 EM. It's going to be a solid border with white. So you can type 3 Fs here to get the white color. And then when you look back at your links here in the bottom of the footer, You should see them all coming up. You will also notice here that our sections are popping up next to each other. This is the Flexbox doing that. So we'll continue working on this page throughout the semester as you add your activities and your lab work and your project work links here. And then at the end of the semester, you're going to be able to showcase your design skills on this page by styling it and customizing it in ways that make sense